the industry is actually taking a different change and approach to things. Not because of AI. Actually, AI is creating more jobs than ever before, what I'm seeing. Also, this year I started reading the Financial Times. Financial Times is quite interesting to give you more insight as to like who's doing what, where, why. What I'm seeing plastered all over AI, all over Financial Times is AI. But it's just like, you have good reviews and bad reviews about it, but it's mainly good in our situation because there's like data centers being sprung up galore. And, even like in Scotland and stuff like that. Now, a lot of people see it as, well, is this just not a bubble? I really doubt that. I don't really think that AI is going to be something that's just going to pop. Reason being is because people are just using it galore in the right sense. But it's not just now. Let's go back in time for a little bit. Let's talk about the bubble. All right. Let's make this movie. Let's make this video. I wish I was making a movie. Maybe I should make a movie. Anyway, let's make this video strictly about, just talking about the history of what when I started my career and what I've seen. So back in 2000, when the dot-com bubble popped, basically what it was is that people were artificially hyping up the the means of IT, and overpaying a lot of IT professionals for what they're doing. So before the dot-com bubble, if you knew how to deploy Windows machines, for example, if you needed to know how to, build Windows NT, if you know how to do Linux VMs, if you know how to do any of those things, you're getting a easy salary of like 40, 50,000 pounds for doing what people say is mediocre work in today's profession. So, and like if you had a CCNA off master salary like 50 grand, times then were really great. But what had happened was is that, all those companies that were artificially inflated, and I think on the stock market, I don't know really that much in depth about it because my career didn't really start until after 2001. Yeah, it just popped and that was it because basically the only people that were using tech then were companies, you know? Anyhow, when I came on the scene after 2001, I did my Windows NT, I did all, my MCSEs and stuff like that. Well, Windows 2000 was there launching, and then 2003 came around and stuff like that. That's where I started my career. The best time I actually started my career was during a crash. The crash had loads of opportunities because basically people like me who were now coming in were willing to work for next to nothing really to get on. My first salary was like £12,000. I don't even know who the hell could live off of that today. So that was the first type of bubble that came around, and basically what you find is that people who are using it were people that were, that had just those persons who were using it for businesses. Now everybody uses AI, as long as you've got a phone, as long as you've got a means of getting onto the internet. You don't even need the internet anyway for AI. You could just download your own agent, do whatever you want to do. But the point being is that everybody's using it, you know. It's a part of life. And because it's part of life, what's happening is it's being consumed, and if it's being consumed, then it's going to grow. And if it's going to grow, then is it really a bubble? No, don't believe it. So what I'm seeing is that a lot of articles about building data centers, a lot of articles about, expanding and use of AI within businesses and stuff like that. But one of the things I find interesting is a lot of people are saying, well, AI is going to take over my job or take my job away. So one of the things I find interesting is one of the AI companies, Anthropic, believe there's Claude that they use, but look at how many jobs they actually have advertising. Now, AI research engineering. Well, isn't that interesting? Applied AI. Don't know what that really is. Communications, compute, data science, analytics, engineering, finance, hardware, legal, marketing, and brand. People, the point being is that here is an AI company who's actually advertising jobs. They're creating jobs, not only in the US, but all over the world, and paying significant amount of money, man. Let me tell you. But besides the money, working for the company must be quite interesting. However, what this tells me is that AI just creates new types of jobs. You know what I mean? When what, a year ago, you probably never see anything that said AI research and engineering. It just wasn't there. Do they have any UK jobs, which is basically where I'm based? Yeah, they do research engineering, machine learning. If I just click on that, it gives you a whole set of things. But what I find very healthy, I didn't see the pay advertised in this job. Oh no, here it is. Yeah, 370,000 to 630,000. Now that says annual salary. That doesn't say anything about bonuses or anything like that. So I can only take the word for it that that is your salary that you get. That's a whole heap of cash. Where you're going to find is that more companies like this from the US that actually publish or release jobs here in the UK is just going to push the market up when it comes to salary. And that's what I'm also finding as well when it comes to like certain jobs. So like, the demand for AI engineering or anything to do with engineering is there. But you're probably saying, well, what should I learn? What I'm seeing is Kubernetes. Can you do Kubernetes? Can you do monitoring? Can you script the hell out of things? Do you understand Python? And this comes on to a different thing as well. As just like your skills used to be if you're a Azure engineer, a GCP engineer, AWS engineer. What I'm probably seeing is that they're probably looking for, can you run Terraform? Can you understand Python? Can you do any of these other technologies which um, we require, regardless of whatever cloud vendor you're using? So it's more or less focusing on that technology stack rather than your cloud provider stack. So if you wanted to know from me like what you should study, studying or understanding the likes of Kubernetes, Python, PowerShell, Terraform, all these sort of things are way more, how you say, advantageous in today's market. Anyhow, I think that's it for me today. I just like keep these videos nice, short, and sweet. Hang in there. If you're gonna, if you want to know basically where to start, where to go, just start today. If you want to be part of a group of professional persons who are actually talking and sharing their knowledge and understanding of how they are in their career and stuff like that. You want coaching, mentoring, and stuff like that. I do have a WhatsApp group that you can actually join. And then eventually, basically, what it is that for small subscription, you are part of, the wider team of things of how to get from point A to point B. We talk about everything, CVs, the whole lot. So anyway, I think that's it for me today. Hope to see you soon.